Hey, folks, Day Fire Podcast, we talk about the great outdoors. We have great guests in, and we share stories of adventures from around the world. We also talk about gear. We share tips. It's just good times about being in Mother Nature. One of the great things about that podcast is we get to have these conversations with people at every level, from amateur weekend warriors to professional sponsored athletes, whether it's paddling, hiking, camping, the van life, you name it, running, we talk about it. We recently had a conversation with a very young 21-year-old up-and-coming ultra runner, and you could just tell in the conversation we had, he's full of life, full of energy and passion. We're excited to see where his journey will take him, but we thought we'd share a little story that he shared with us. And then if you like that, you can go listen to the whole podcast. You can find us at dayfirepodcast.com or on any of your podcast platform preferences. Dayfire Podcast with me, Clint Powell, and the main man, Dawson Wheeler. So enjoy this from Noah Cochran. See ya.
Lay it on us, man.
Well, I decided that in case you didn't already know how crazy I am, or could tell from the rest of this podcast how crazy I am and how desperately I wanted to race. When this all shut down in March, I was set to do a 100-miler. I was set to do Lake Martin 100 in Alabama. And, I mean, I thought, God, it canceled right before it. And I was upset. I mean, I wanted to do it. You trained so hard for it, and I thought I could really do something there. But so then a couple weeks go by, still no races. April goes by, couldn't race. And then we're 2 weeks in to May and still no races. But then I'm browsing Ultra sign up, and something pops up in Houston, Mississippi. It's a 50K in Houston, Mississippi. I didn't even know where that was. But,
I've actually been there.
Well,
yeah.
It ain't your turn for a story, Dawson. You smiled.
Keep going.
Well, so I looked at my dad. This was Thursday, and the race was on Saturday. And I said, "Dude, let's leave tomorrow. Let's go to Houston. I'll sign up." And I checked their page, and they were like, we're gonna have the race and everything. So we booked a hotel. We woke up Friday morning, left down. So I don't even remember how long the drive was. It was about 5 hours. So we're about 30 minutes away from getting to the hotel, and I get an email from the race director that says, "No race. We're canceled. And of course, I looked at my dad and was like, "Man, this is bad. We've driven, what do we do? Just go home?" So what we ended up doing is deciding we were gonna go run the course. And so we stayed in the hotel, get up the next day, because he said it would be marked if you want to come run it by yourself, but we're not allowed to have an event.
Yeah. So
we got out there, and the race director was actually there, and he said, "Hey man, the course is marked for you if you want to run it. So, I'd be happy to let you run it." So I just got my bottles out and started 50K by myself, and my dad was just going to run around a little bit, and he wasn't going to do 50K. And to make a long story short, about 6 hours later, I'm in the middle of the woods in Mississippi. The course wasn't marked. There was no markings. And, it wasn't just a trail with no spurs off. No, there's a million spurs off and no markings. So I finally run into some dude on this dirt road in once again, Houston, Mississippi. I didn't know where the
There's not a lot going on down there.
No.
I'll just tell you.
And I'm like, man, because he had a little four-wheeler with him. It was like seeing water in the desert. And I was like, "Oh, thank God. Can you take me back?" And he was like, "Well, not right now." And I was like, "Huh?"
Perfect.
And so I ended up talking to this fella for a couple hours about his old life stories.
Was your dad worried?
I don't know. Probably.
When you got back, was he like, "Hey, where'd you go?"
Yeah, he was just like, "Oh, well, you got some stories for me?" I said, "Oh yeah, buddy."
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was that trip.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that story. Find our podcast at, of course, dayfirepodcast.com or Apple Podcast, Spotify, Pandora, Google, whatever the podcast platform is. You can fire Dayfire Podcast. Thanks a lot.